Hi guys, and welcome to Fireside Chat with the Johnstons. I'm Danielle, and I'm your host for today's episode. So guys, today we are going to talk about summer. A lot of times in most gyms, I would say, across the US and Canada, we see a drop in enrollments for the summer, and there's not a lot that you can do. So for a long time, I thought this was just me. We live near Lake of the Ozarks. Everybody wants to enjoy the nicest parts of summer, and they want to head down to Lake of the Ozarks to their lake houses and their docks and take their boats out and all that stuff.
In the Ozarks, there's like woods and stuff. Yeah.
And even if they don't have lake houses and they don't spend a lot of time on the lake, everybody wants to be outside by a pool. Now, even though we have air conditioning in my gym, that doesn't mean that people are preferring to spend the indoor time necessarily in the gym. And so it took me a lot of years to figure out, how do we recover from the summer slump? Because we drop a decent amount of kids. I would say 10 to 12%, sometimes even up, I've had it maybe up to 18% of the gym is actually dropping for those summer months. So whereas this year, I didn't see quite the same number of drops, I feel like we also mitigated that a little bit by doing a few things in the spring that helped us build that enrollment moving forward. Now, right now, you can't take that time machine and go back and do all those things in the spring that I did to boost that enrollment before you saw the drops. So I'll get into that on a future episode. But what I can talk about today is how to survive that summer slump. So if you guys have owned a gym for a number of years, you probably know that the summer slump is coming. I know that for me, I start to see it about a week or two before spring break. It gets a little bit heavier after spring break, which for us is usually mid-March. And then by April, there is a full swing of drops. It is not uncommon to see recreational athletes dropping right and left, and those emails all come through to me. So if we know that this is the case, we have to build a pattern that our brains recognize when those drops are coming in. I make sure that every drop is sent to me via email, so you can set that up either in your class management software or through some sort of drop form that you have. But I do think it's important to be seeing those on a regular basis. If you wait till the end of the month and you're like, well, I had 350 kids and now I have 295, well, you kind of knew, because those drops don't all come in at the last minute, right? So you could have been increasing enrollments throughout the month rather than waiting until the month was over and recognizing, oh crap, I am going to be really short on revenue from my tuition this month.
Being proactive is being smart.
So it's important that you're recognizing that pattern. Even more importantly, as those all-star fees start coming in. So for me, the first payment has passed. June 15th was the first set of all-star fees, because in the summer we have things like choreography, camps, music, things like that our all-star kids are paying for. Well, they also start on a regular basis so that they're done before Christmas. And so with that, I have this chunk of money that is designated for competitions so that I can use it and pay competition fees early and save my family's money, because a lot of those event producers are offering early bird fees. Well, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of gyms that are in that summer slump and they're like, man, my revenue is down $5,000 or $6,000 this month. I can maybe recover $1,000, but the only way to pay the bills is then to use that money that was designated toward competitions, to use it to pay the electric bill, use it to pay the gas bill or the trash or the internet. And then, man, I'm just going to have to work my butt off this fall because I know that I'm going to have to save that money up to then pay the competition fees. And I know that this is happening because not only have I been in your shoes, that it took me a bit to figure out that I can't do that. Not only that, but I also know that every year I talk to gym owners, and sometime between March and April, I hear from them, I just don't have the money. This is the season when nobody has the money in cheer. And I always think it's so interesting that that's the case in March and April. Because if we're talking about money that was designated for uniforms or competition fees or travel for coaches, if it's allotted for that, then you didn't have the money in November either. And you sure as heck didn't have the money in July. Right? And so if we're budgeting accordingly and we're not overspending on items, then the same amount of money that you have available to spend in July should reasonably be the same amount in March and April. And on top of that, most of us, our enrollment is actually higher in March and April still than it would be in July. The last thing you want to do is take those all-star fees and basically use them as a payday loan to get you by throughout the summer.
No! God, please, no! No! No!
So the things we're going to talk about today are how you can do smarter revenue strategies for the summer so that you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, because eventually Peter disappears by spring. So although summer is a slower pace for most gyms, it's not a dead zone. In fact, I'm literally speaking to you guys as I came home from a practice. We do daytime practices for a lot of our all-star teams in the summer. It can be a challenge when it comes to transportation, but we give our families a pretty good heads up that that's going to happen for elite teams in the summer. And here's the best part. My families are able to have their evenings with their siblings and go to the softball games, and it doesn't interfere. And then also it allows me to better utilize my gym during the day. It also allows me, when we're talking air conditioning, like air conditioning at 9 o'clock is a heck of a lot cheaper than it is at 4 or 5 o'clock in the middle of Missouri where it's over 100 degrees most days. And so, or I shouldn't say most days, but like a lot of days. It allows me to maintain that budget without raising their tuition for the entire year for something that should reasonably only cost me more for a couple of months. So this is not a time to think, my gym is a dead zone. I need to close more days a week because I have less kids in the gym. It should be quite the opposite. You should be saying, man, I've got the opportunity right now while kids are out of school, the one time a year that my main target audience is available day and night. I've got the opportunity to now increase my revenue, increase the programs that I'm providing, and make up for the lost revenue from those kids that would have dropped for the summer.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
This is a chance to plug the holes in your business with flexible and appealing options for people who might come in the summer, and who knows, they might stay the rest of the school year. Okay, so strategy number 1, specialty camps, clinics, and classes. And I know that you're like, Danielle, I knew you were going to say that. We've tried it 1,000 times, and these camps and stuff just don't work for me. Or skip ahead 30 seconds in the podcast because I already know what you're going to say and I'm already doing it. Don't do that. This is your moment. Like if you skipped ahead 30 seconds, I'm just going to stall 30 seconds so I can tell you, go backwards.
Don't do that.
Here's the thing. We do a lot of specialty classes in the summer because who are the people that are already here? It's your all-star kids. And so these are opportunities for your all-star kids to perfect their skills. A lot of times they're also the families that are better connected within the gym, that if I'm offering a daytime class at 11 o'clock and mom and dad work during the day, well, they're more likely to know somebody else who has also registered for the class so that they can carpool with someone who can provide that transportation. Some examples of this in the summers during the day, we're offering jumps camp. It's like a 1 hour once a week. I don't normally offer jumps classes throughout the year. I think it's wonderful if you do. I wish I could, but I have offered it before and the enrollment just is not steady enough to maintain it throughout the year. So instead of offering a class throughout the year, and I'm not telling you not to if you have a super successful jumps class, but if you don't have that steady enrollment, offer it in a 6-week session. And so what we did was we are offering a 6-week jump session, and we're dividing by age to make sure that we've got, I don't have my 6-year-olds with my 16-year-olds. They're divided, but we're focused on things like plyometrics, on jump technique, on our approaches, on our legs, all of the things that are those drivers in a score sheet. And we've specifically picked athletes and said, we recommend that you're in this jumps class. Now, it can be for a variety of reasons. Maybe, your jumps were good enough to go in jumps, but they're not going to score as well as some of your teammates. And so it's really important that you're focused on your jumps right now because we want to make sure that your toes are not the toes that get us a 0.1, right? Or whatever the new score sheet will say for OCS anyway. We also might have kids where we're like, man, you've never been in jumps, but like your standing tumbling is really good. And sometimes it's hard to make those transitions between jumps and standing tumbling. And so Why don't we get you some jumps training so that perhaps by next year, you could be ready to both be in jumps and standing tumbling? Because I have kids who have all the standing tumbling on my youth too, but I couldn't put them in standing tumbling because they didn't also have the jumps. And we needed to quickly move through those 8 counts because we have some pretty elaborate pyramid and stunt sections. And I needed to make sure that our standing tumbling and jumps were right next to each other. For choreography reasons, sometimes it's not ideal to change out those people. And so we need them to focus and get good at jumps. I also have ones like front walkovers. As you start to see those level 3, 4, 5 who are almost turning it into a Tensica, they're rotating their shoulders. They don't have that same level of flexibility they did at level 1 and 2. These are the moments that we come back and say, but hold on, front walkovers are still pretty vital to your running tumbling passes and to transitional passes even at level 3. And so let's get you in a front walkover clinic for 6 weeks, 1 hour a week, and we're going to work on fixing it. Right? And we did do that with a couple of athletes last year, and it made a huge difference in their tumbling. I also offered things like handspring clinic, and we didn't focus, my handsprings class would be round off back handsprings, standing handsprings, and front handsprings, and fly springs. And so we didn't focus on all of those things. We said we are going to focus on a standing handspring in this class. And so it allows us to get very focused and specific on one skill. And of course, a standing handspring being improved is going to improve your round off back handspring and so on and so forth. So you can get very specific with those camps and clinics, but it's important then that you're going to those all-star athletes or those very dedicated recreational tumblers and you're saying, hey, I think this would be a really good one for your child, and here's why. 99% of the time, if parents can afford it and they can fit it into their schedule, they're going to say yes because they understand that you're trying to do things to help their child. Now, I put this caveat. Don't do it just for the dollars, right? If you're telling everybody on your team, everyone should do this class. Now, there are some. Do I think everyone would benefit from a jumps class? Yes. But if you're telling everyone on your team rather than specific athletes, then it kind of becomes more of a money grab than it becomes, hey, this is great for my revenue and it's great for your child's success. And what you're always looking for in these situations with a sale is a win-win. It's a win for you and it's a win for them. You can provide an outcome and a result if they can commit to this. And so that's always what you're looking for. Make sure that the structure you're providing is based off of the troubleshooting you're finding in your classes. And so if we find that a lot of our athletes are struggling on the height for jumps, we can now focus on the height and build those lesson plans accordingly. What's going to happen is that by offering these daytime classes, you're not overburdening your schedule. You probably have staff that are available during the day. And maybe your daytime is a 4 o'clock, right? Where athletes whose parents work can still make it there sometimes or most of the time. And, your staff don't have to come in double shifts. Creating this sort of urgency when it comes to signups is also going to be really important. So I will admit it's harder if you're like, you should do this one this summer because our hope is that you can be in jumps next year. However, if you have kids who are on the verge of a skill and you really would like them to be in that skill, for example, in my youth too, your jumps are pretty good and you have a great back walkover back handspring. I would love to have you in the jump section because I would like to be able to utilize the back walkover back handspring. That creates a greater sense of urgency. If I can say that before I've done choreography or right after and I've kind of taken that chance, well, now that creates the sense of motivation and urgency for the athlete and their family as well. Strategy number 2, summer camps.
A summer camp. Welcome to Camp Refugi.
So I'll be honest, my full day summer camp and my specialty summer camps are filling a little bit slowly this year. I'm not sure if we just didn't pick ones that were as appealing to athletes, or perhaps we haven't, what the marketing, the way we've done it in the past just isn't kind of hitting the same way this year. But don't panic because they did start to fill. They just filled a lot later than I would have preferred. So it's still important that you're offering those things that are going to generate leads and get kids in the door who otherwise would not be there for your gym. Sell the parents on the value. It is in a sense of childcare. If those parents are allowed to leave during that time, they can go get groceries, they can run their errands, take the dog to the vet without also having their child dragging along. It's engagement. You're getting them involved, building friendships, you're teaching skills. So don't not do summer camps just because they haven't worked in the past. Because I talked on a recent episode about how sometimes things didn't work in the past because you had the wrong people running them, or it was the wrong timing, or like you messed something up. So be humble and be open to knowing that just because it didn't work in the past doesn't mean it doesn't work, right? It just means it didn't work then. And my goodness, the value of having daytime summer programming that brings in revenue is worth trying every year.
That's so true.
Okay, number 3, micro sessions for the littlest athletes that might be interested in your gym. So a few things that we do. The Mommy and Me classes are a great session-based program, something like Ninja Tots. So we offer basically ninja practice for 18 months to 3 years old. They're focused on balance. They're learning how to climb safely. They're running a lot and getting sweaty, learning forward rolls, stuff like that. Also, something that could go really well, I've seen a couple of gyms do, is Cheer Tots, where it's mom and child cheer class together. So get creative with the programming, offer it as a session. I would recommend a 6-week session and price it accordingly. Again, this is something you can offer during the day or like an early evening class, but you don't have to commit to doing this forever. If you have recreational classes that have slowed in enrollment, or you've had a number of drops, and so maybe it's a class that used to require 2 coaches and now it requires 1, don't tell that coach to go clock out. Solve the problem by getting creative there. Offer these micro sessions for the littlest of the kids in the gym. Often it only requires 1 coach if you have the parent involved in it, and the parents will help kind of guide and protect their child and make sure their child is listening for the most part. Most do. On top of that, it's less commitment, which equals more signups. You're not asking them for a month-to-month rolling enrollment. It's a 6-week session. Guys, there are times in my gym that we've even offered a 3-week session. Right before Christmas, it always seems to happen that our session ends right before Thanksgiving. And if I offer a long session, it doesn't work quite as well as saying we have a 3-week mini session that we're going to offer. What these sessions do is it kind of sets you up to see, is this a class that could be successful year-round? And I won't get into, in this episode, what is best, rolling enrollment or sessions. I know I've talked a lot about sessions. I do not recommend them for 99% of things, but there are times that you can test out a new program and it's valuable. Melanie is actually teaching a whole session on that this weekend at the Dallas conference, and so I'm not here to steal her thunder. In fact, I think you actually catch this after her session that this episode will release. But you snooze, you lose. Hopefully you made it to Dallas, because I'm sure it's a great session because Melanie always does really great ones. Strategy number 4, there are dancers in your area. Guaranteed, because in most towns, there is a dance studio on every corner. Take this time to market to the dancers. Many dance studios literally go dark in the summer. So for many, many months, I have known several dance studios that go dark from the time their recital is over around Memorial Day until the time school begins. And I'm not necessarily here coaching them, so I'm not going to tell you don't do that, but don't do that, because while they're giving those dancers time off in the summer, those dancers are going and they're spending that disposable income elsewhere. The great part for you is that they can spend it at your gym. So our goal is not to take this dancer and turn them into an all-star cheerleader. Our goal is to take this dancer and, because they're passionate about dance and they love dance, give them skills that will make them a better dancer. So focus on things like walkovers, aerials, round off tucks. And when you teach those things, you have to teach them maybe in a little bit different format than you've taught before. Because, handspring step outs are another one. But when you're teaching those things, maybe you can pass by a few of the skills that you would normally teach, such as if you teach in your gym straddle rolls, pike rolls, backwards rolls. Like, though I definitely see the value in them being able to do a backwards roll to safely come out of a tuck, they don't necessarily have to have a back extension roll or the backwards roll variations that you may teach in your normal tumbling classes. So you can sometimes create a quicker, smoother, more efficient path for a dancer to learn the skills that they need to learn. Some of the things that we've done in the past is we've offered a Tumbling for Dancers class. It is very focused on getting them only the prerequisite skills they need to be able to learn those, and then those skills themselves. So again, I'm not teaching handstand pirouettes, though we teach that for body control in our tumbling classes. We're omitting that skill. We've been very calculated on what skills can we omit that a dancer will probably never use that will allow a dancer to still safely be able to work on the skills that they're trying to attain, right? And here's the deal. If you don't teach it, they will. Like the dance studios will. And I'm here to tell you a lot of times, guys, the people in your gym coaching tumbling are going to be a bit more experienced and a bit safer. Again, you have tumble tracks. Most dance studios don't have that. You have boulders, you have air barrels, you might have a T-trainer. You have these things that can safely allow an athlete to start working on those skills. A rod floor, a spring floor. Whereas in a dance studio, I've coached in youth centers where they also teach dance, and I had a couple of panel mats, and that was it. And so you have the ability to get those dancers those skills more quickly. Whether you're offering a 6-week session of Tumbling for Dancers, you're offering a class each week, or you're targeting your private lessons toward dancers, right? Hey, dancers, we offer semi-private lessons. If this is something you're looking for, we can do a 3-month semi-private lesson pack for you so that you can start working on the skills for next season's routines. Any dancer is going to be more versatile if they have tumbling. So be the solution to their problem. Strategy number 5. I'm going to say this with a giant caveat of listen to this whole thing. Don't skip ahead 30 seconds because I've got some warnings. Number 5, the pay in full all-star option. So what we do at my gym is we offer a 5% discount for anybody who pays in full for their entire season. That does include tuition, it includes uniform, it includes their competition fees. What it allows us to do is to provide micro deposits so that we can negotiate the fees in a little bit better. We can book those hotels early. We can book flights early. Danielle is not one that's booking a flight 2 days before. Okay, it stresses me out. That's not for me. So it allows us to book those things so that we can guarantee a price rate, or we can go book it now. And if the price were to drop, you can exchange that ticket. Almost every airline will do that for you. The pay in full options can be really valuable because it can save you money. The caveat to that is you have to be good at budgeting. Because now, if somebody is paying you $5,000 and that money is supposed to be their tuition for the whole year, their competition fees, their choreography fees, their uniform, all that stuff, my goodness, do not go buy a tumble track and then wonder where the money went in March. As valuable as that piece of equipment is, you're not going to get the ROI out of it in time. Even if you're telling me, Danielle, I'm going to be able to start 3 new classes if I just have that piece of equipment. No, that's not how that works. Okay. You're not going to see that ROI in time to make your money back so that money was an investment. It's going to be a liability and you're going to have to get it back some other way. So if you are going to offer a pay in full option, again, I want everything in my gym to be a win-win. We offer a 5% pay in full option if it is paid in cash or by check. And this is the only time of the year that I offer for people to pay in check because I don't want bad checks being written. I don't want to have to give a fee. You know that you get a fee on it if somebody writes a bad check. I just don't want to have to go down that road with anyone. And so this is the only time of year that we offer because we ensure that it is due long before that first payment has to be made on my end. So I say long before, 2 to 4 weeks before. You have to know your margins because this can become a very fancy way to go broke early in the season. Make sure that you have the margin built in where you can do that with 5%. The reason that I chose 5% is because by the time I average out the credit card fees for charging their card on a monthly basis, charging their card for the fees, and the administrative costs that it costs when somebody's card doesn't go through, by being able to have them pay it all up front and then we don't have to worry about that on a monthly basis, that's about 5%. So the credit card fees are covered because they paid in cash. So it's a win-win for both of us. I don't have to give money to Visa and Discover and American Express. And then on the other end, you're saving administrative time when that person's card expires, when the payment doesn't go through for whatever reason, or you have any other issues throughout the season. The pay in full option can be really great as long as, 1, you know your budget, and 2, you are disciplined with the money. So it can allow you to pay things early so that you get better rates. And overall, that's going to make it easier when March and April roll around because you're making smart decisions in June and July. Okay, I'm giving you a bonus idea here. I was only going to give 5 strategies, but as if you're not tired enough thinking of all the things that you should be doing this summer to increase your revenue, don't forget you have space available. Anytime your gym is open, it's available. Anytime it's not open, it could be open and you could be making money off of it. So don't forget, there are still a number of people that would prefer to have an indoor birthday party in the summer, even up in Canada and Wisconsin and Minnesota and all those places that don't get a lot of nice weather. You still get people who are like, I want a predictable space. I don't want to have to worry about rain. I don't want to have to clean up at the park. I don't want to have to worry about the pool and kids, being safe the whole time. I want to go somewhere that I can trust, that is reliable. And guess what? You need to market it that way. There's also things like homeschool PE, or if you have it on your insurance, adult tumbling. Yes, it exists. Get those CrossFit people, tag CrossFit and say you're doing a handstand contest at your adult tumbling clinic. There's things like merchandise drops. You can get your spirit wear packages for the season out there early, right? If you're doing it early, you can sell more because maybe it's not coming at the same time as all those fall sports in school. I know that as soon as August rolls around, a whole bunch of my money is about to go to the high school for all of the varsity cheer package and spirit wear and stuff like that. And honestly, within about 2 or 3 months, I'm getting the soccer stuff that now I have to start paying for. So get your stuff early when nobody else is asking for that money yet. Consider creating a punch card for drop-ins, open gym, daytime playtime. There's last-minute ways to beat the heat and stay out of the rain. Things like open gyms, maybe you have a specialty last minute, beat the heat, open gym, or a daytime playtime. I'm telling you guys, if it is going to be over 100 degrees anytime, you probably should consider offering a beat the heat open gym and charge your athletes for it, or a beat the heat daytime playtime. Realistically, even if you get 10 or 15 kids there, you've brought in revenue. As long as you didn't have to turn on the air conditioning for that period of time, you can back it up with private lessons. Maybe your admin staff is in there working on things already. Maybe you had other things going on, like daytime playtime just ended and you're going to offer an open gym immediately following it. Get creative to use your space. If the air conditioning is already on, enjoy it, right? Having it on for 1 more hour means that you can be profitable, but you have to get creative and you have to plan ahead so that you've got that graphic, you're ready to go. And when that weather is announced just a couple days in advance, you've got it scheduled and you're ready to go. All right, guys. So I hope you found this helpful as 5+1 bonus options for building your summer revenue. If this didn't make you exhausted, well, then I don't know what else to tell you, because the idea of doing all these things is absolutely exhausting. The benefit of it, though, is so worth it. To know that the things that you're doing now are going to help you not feel broke in March and April is worth every minute of your effort. The goal here is not survivability in the summer, it is stability. So this week, I want you to choose one of the strategies and no excuses, figure out how to do it and get it on the books for next week. All right, guys, thank you for joining me on this episode of Fireside Chat.